So I'm 46 years old. I'm in mid-career. Life and family and the vocation, things had gone really, really well until they didn't. And the last 2 years of a 15-year ministry were the most painful of maybe all the preceding years in that church. See, I thought by being a good pastor, doing the right thing, running the right programs, growing the church, increasing the offering, all those physical signs, I'm also embarrassed to say, somehow entitled me to have God's best, or somehow I could manipulate or at least expect God to do stuff my way. All that's unconscious, all that's deeply connected to how I was leading in my motivation. So what I learned in the transition, being totally unsettled, like disoriented, not sure of how things were going to work out, not even clear about where I was going to land in my next job. And we've all had those kind of experiences if we live long enough. Here's what I did. I threw an adult temper tantrum with God. I actually am embarrassed to say I behaved in my darkest moments in ways that I'd be embarrassed to share on camera. Yeah. And so here's what God said to me. It sounded something like this. David, you cannot coerce me by your devotion or your defiance. At the very time I'm being defiant. And I thought to myself, oh, holy God, that's strong language. And I've learned over time that when God gives me, or I think of a word that I don't ordinarily use in common everyday language, that it is most likely the Spirit of God. And so the defiant word was like, holy cow, I don't want to be that. I don't mind being a little disruptive with God. I don't mind being a little angry with God. But Lord God, when you say I'm defiant.
Defiant, wow.
Oh, God got my attention and gets our attention as leaders so that the way of being can become the force from which everything else in ministry flows.
Wow.
What does Bobby Clinton like to say about ministry? And
he says ministry flows out of being.
Wow.
The most effective ministry you or I will ever do, you or Nick will ever do, is that which flows out of who we are. And the stunning thing, we tried to talk about this last time, is while we're busy trying to get stuff done, God's busy trying to work deeply in us. And the crazy thing is, for every leader, God will bring us to the end of ourselves to get our undivided attention.
yeah.
I'm curious, Nick, if you have a story that you'd enjoy sharing.
I'm just sitting over giggling here, like, oh no.
Yeah. Is this resonating?
Yeah, a little bit.
Really?
A little bit.
Might you share then some of what
The colossal train wreck that was the last 24 months.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for bringing it up.
so lightly even.
I got your back, bro. Your secret's safe with me.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't even know where to start. Yeah, it's interesting. I'm around you guys enough to know like some of the right things that I should be thinking, and I'm fascinated at how I've misapplied them in some ways even.
And we're here to talk about all that. Maybe we can do that in the next episode. Right. There you go. Thank you for that confession. Yeah, that's pretty vulnerable.
I'm sure you misapplied it. We mischaracterized it. Right? There's no chance of that. No.
100% perfect communication coming from you. Yeah, I totally resonate. In my own way, I think I knew enough to understand that God was, wanting to work in me through things. Being around you guys enough, like I knew there was some ways of thinking that I should have, and I was just aware of some ideas about, ministry flows out of being. And but January 2022, I had a 10-hour panic attack, as you know. which is a very long panic attack, and and sent me into a whole whirlwind of things that I couldn't control. And you guys got front row seat to that whole thing. And like I shared before that, I was living a life of really believing that I was doing everything that I could do to, in some sense, earn the Lord's favor.
Yeah.
And it was like, Lord, here I am, take me. I received pain and difficulty as part of the journey because I knew I was going to grow. So for me, I wasn't necessarily working on controlling ministry outcomes and things as much as I was really working to control my own growth.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I wasn't surrendered, or maybe the best word is dependent. I was hearing from everybody else the ways in which I should grow faster and deeper and more to become that kind of man who ministers out of his being that he's found himself on his own. Right?
Yeah.
Because I was committed.
Through your hard work.
Through my hard work, right?
Yeah.
And even so much so that there's self-righteousness that's living inside of that, because I'm like, Lord, here I am. I'm giving you more than anybody else. It felt like at times. And so why can't I experience that depth of intimacy that I think you offer, or that peace, or the joy? For me, it was about experiencing joy. And so he just grounded me. And he allowed me to get to that place where I was just spinning and spinning and spinning in my own control of my own growth.
And when you say he grounded you,
Yeah,
what
I
do
got
you
the
mean?
10 hours, but what about?
Yeah, he allowed me to have that
What after that?
that 10-hour panic attack that led to some physical challenges, some neurological challenges now that I even still am dealing with, and in terms of how my mind works or doesn't work. And I've got physical tremors now in my nervous system that I have to manage, and it sent me into a season of learning that the only thing that I could do, if we're talking being and doing, the only thing I really could do is trust God. It's like he made me leap. You said trust God and leap. It's like he said, here, leap first. Throw me into a season of needing to depend, because I was working so hard to control on my own and not leaping in a trust way, but and so I think the word there for me is he sent me into a season of really beginning to realize what dependence means, because I couldn't do anything else. Sent me into a forced sabbatical, where I couldn't function.
So it in your head. Dependence is this.
Right.
And you can define it. You can illustrate it.
I can act like I'm depending.
You can act like you.
Right.
So it moves from your knowledge to a real heart life experience. I'm unable to function day to day like I used to be.
Oh yeah, not depending on my own skills, like you said.
Yeah, right.
I couldn't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Couldn't even answer emails. It was a good 6 months before I began to realize, or not realize, I think because having the benefit of being around you guys as coaches and encouragers, I have an awareness that, okay, when that happened, I went, okay, God is doing that. Shoot, I thought I could avoid it.
Yeah.
I thought I could control my own growth in a way where I didn't have to depend on him. And he loved me too much to allow me to continue to control that. And so, finding myself in a season of months of just not being able to do anything and learning the grace of just depending.
So, you're leading a ministry, and the ministry has objectives, and the ministry was growing by leaps and bounds. It grew by leaps and bounds through your leadership. Your creative juices were flowing massively. We were all the beneficiaries of it. It was amazing what God did, and it just coincided with COVID. And the press to perform, the press to keep growing, the press to keep, launching more teams and, see more new disciples made like this. It wars against the work of God in you.
Yeah, it does.
And it does it in every vocational minister.
And nobody says that.
Yes, that's
Right.
right. No. That's right.
And so God did what he always does. Bobby Clinton says it. Every vocational minister will experience multiple times where they have those boundaries, those in between times where you're taken out of ministry fruitfulness, and you're profoundly uncomfortable and destabilized. Yeah,
Good
and it's
word.
to get our attention, which is exactly what we saw
That's right.
him do in you. And I want to tell you, buddy, you have responded in a really beautiful, delightful, picture perfect way. And we're the beneficiaries. John and David and I and the rest of our team and the people that we influence are the beneficiaries of that. So, buddy, thank you so much for that, because a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
They get into that season where God's taking them to the woodshed, and they just stiffen their neck and toughen their heart, and they're not going to submit. They're not going to surrender.